Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Vilnius, for a brief introduction. I am here as a representative of Vis Europa Foundation, an independent think tank based in Warsaw, which takes part in this project as a representative of Poland. And for this reason, I will today give an insight into the role of CCS in Polish overall energy strategy and also dedicated policies dedicated to industry in particular. So as I already said, we are an independent think tank based in Warsaw. We encompass many activities and many programs: economy and economic policy, energy and climate, European policies and sustainable finance, and sustainable transport. I am here as a representative of two of these programs, as I'm sitting astride between energy and climate and European policies and sustainable finance, but CCS4CE is a project we have been realizing within energy and climate program. And I will provide you with a brief outline overview of my presentation, just to give you an insight what you can expect today from me. So firstly, I will refer to current prospects of carbon capture and storage in Poland. What are the conditions and circumstances and all the environment which makes Poland a potential country for deploying CCS installations. Then I will move to Polish energy policy, and in particular these policies which might be considered as relevant for carbon capture and storage. And finally, I will provide a brief input for further discussion, maybe during our panel, input on potential collaboration, regional collaboration between Poland and Baltic states and Lithuania in particular. So Poland is a very prospective state in terms of deploying carbon capture and storage. As you can see, we both have a very high share of emissions, especially from of course, energy supply and industry. And given all these emissions altogether, we can see that if we compare them against potential storage capacity, as it was estimated by Polish Geological Institute, we could store our carbon dioxide underground for several decades, which makes also Poland a potential regional hub for cooperation with neighboring countries which do not possess such significant carbon storage capacity. Poland is also very experienced already in carbon capture and storage technologies. We have conducted many research projects. There were also two, unfortunately unsuccessful, but very well developed, two demonstration projects in Poland. We have a robust research base with academia, research institutes, large-scale research facilities, which is, for example, quite exceptional in our region, as we are the only state in Central and Eastern Europe which possess large-scale CCS research facility, which could be also shared with other states from the region if we want to jointly develop CCS technologies. Our hard coal power plants are already CCS ready. There are CCS feasibility studies, especially for the new ones, as it was required by the CCS directive implemented to our legal system. But unfortunately, this potential storage capacity reported by Polish Geological Institute is reported mostly onshore, and onshore storage is currently prohibited in Poland, and I will refer in detail to this information later. So we can only store carbon dioxide in the Baltic Sea, which limits our storage capacity, as there are only, I believe, 2 or 3 structures reported as potential, as prospective in terms of offshore CO2 storage in Poland. However, notwithstanding these circumstances, CCS in Poland is gaining momentum. But given this main regulatory barrier, which is the prohibition of onshore storage, we are currently focused on capturing carbon dioxide and transporting it to Norway. And this is exactly what Poland EU CCS Interconnector project is about. It is to gather emissions from industrial facilities located in the coastline in the Polish coastline and then transfer it via ships to CO2 storage sites developed within Northern Lights project Michał Wędrowski talked about. And within this cluster, there are currently 2 installations, a cement plant at Kujawy, which is in this orange circle, and which is also a recipient of funding within Innovation Fund. A carbon capture facility has been financed by European Union, and another plant is Płock refinery. This is the second dot here. Another project independent from this is ACCESS Access project developed by Heidelberg Cement in Góraździe cement plant. There is also a CCU's DAT.pl project, which Europa also takes part in this project. And within this project, we develop a pilot CCUS cluster together with regulations and CCS strategy for Poland. There are also some administrative movements aimed at fostering CCS deployment in Poland, especially on the side of the Ministry of Climate and Environment and natural gas transmission operators. But what is the place of these developments in our energy policy? Unfortunately, our energy policy suffers from lack of long-termism and especially very low ambitions, as net zero is still not stated as an ultimate target of our policy. We aim to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions only by 30% compared to 1990. And CCS is not indicated as an important element of decarbonization of our economy. We mentioned photovoltaics, offshore wind, because onshore wind is also prohibited in current legal framework in Poland. Nuclear power plants are also a viable option in the opinion of our decision makers, but no CCS. And although coal also is to play still a major role in our energy system in 2030 and beyond, CCS is not considered as an option to abate emissions from this resource, and the impact of Russian invasion of Ukraine was not significant in these terms, as nothing changed very much in our energy policy. We are making very hastily actions. We react only what is happening right now, and no strategic shift has been made. No policy dedicated to how to cope with this new situation hasn't been developed. Especially, although the shift to coal we experience right now could be an option to somehow integrate CCS as an option to abate emissions from this fuel, but it is not happening. And although we have many national planning documents in terms of energy, no one mentions CCS as an important viable option. This is also because the issue of industry decarbonization does not exist in our public debate. Policymakers, decision makers are not concerned what to do with cement plants, steel plants, chemical plants, and maybe for this reason they are not aware of this technology even. And this is what we also, as Visa Europa, want to change, as we take part in the CCUS.pl project, and we are to develop CCS strategy dedicated to Poland and our industrial base. Unfortunately, I cannot reveal many details about this strategy as it's still under development. We developed a model of Polish energy system, and we will input data to this model, and based on the results of this modeling exercise, we will design final regulations and recommendations for policymakers. When it comes to regulatory barriers, which also stem from this lack of interest expressed at the high political level, I mentioned prohibition of onshore storage, but also in current regulatory framework, both pilot and commercial projects are not allowed. Only Polish Geological Mining and Law Act, which is relevant for carbon capture and storage, mentions only and allows only for demonstration projects for which there is envisioned a specific threshold. For example, power plants couldn't be of capacity greater than 500 megawatts. And for example, this is an impediment to some power utilities to develop CCS facility. But our stakeholders we reached out during CCS4C project also insisted on the issue of excessive financial demands imposed by the state on those who want to develop CCS projects in Poland. The financial security which must be submitted by a potential project developer is too high in their opinion, and this is why Polish Ministry of Climate and Environment proposed some changes to this regulatory framework, although the legislative process is currently quite sluggish. You know, the first draft of this new legal act was proposed more than 1 year ago, and since that moment, the process is at the same point right now. But even if we ignore this aspect, these proposed amendments are still halfway to success of CCS in Poland, if I may say so, because although all kinds of CCS projects will be allowed, so demonstration projects, commercial projects, pilot projects, and some fees will no longer be required, it is still unclear whether Polish Ministry of Climate and Environment will allow for onshore storage. And given that our storage capacity is located mostly onshore, this may still remain a very important barrier to CCS deployment in our country. Although this storage capacity could be a potential area for regional cooperation, as we could, for example, share storage sites, because, for example, Lithuania has very limited reported geological CO2 storage potential, and, for example, it could be a way how to cope, how to abate Lithuanian emissions, yet transport them to storage sites in Poland. So this is what we recommend, for example, especially when it comes to possible CO2 storage sites in the Baltics. Preliminary research proves that Baltic Sea is a very prospective storage site. This is a map provided within EU Geocapacity project. It was a project aimed at assessing pan-European CO2 storage potential. And you see this shaded area. This is in the Baltic Sea. This is an aquifer, geological structure which is very prospective in terms of CO2 storage, but unfortunately it is not very much explored. And scientists from the Baltic region, not only from Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, but also Sweden, for example, stress that regional cooperation is essential in order to acquire enough data and explore and prospect potential CO2 storage sites in the Baltic. So this is definitely an issue which should be discussed in regional fora in the future, especially since it can translate into this opportunity of sharing CCS infrastructure I mentioned a few minutes ago. Thank you very much. And as I believe, Ervinas, you will invite the next.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kamil.